So in this video I'm going to tactically analyse some video footage from the Rangers game, and we'll start with this clip first. So here we see in the second half United have the ball in the middle third, and you can see that Amorim's side are set up in that 3-2 shape at the base of the system. But more specifically, you can see how close the United players are to each other. And this is because by reducing the space between the individual players, this opens up greater possibility for quick short passes, bounce between players, but also force the Rangers front two to sit a lot closer together, and forces the midfield line to squeeze up the pitch, creating space wide and in behind them. And we see United take advantage of this here, as when Maguire moves the ball out to Lisandro Martinez, because the Rangers front two have reduced the space between them in order to cut the passing lanes from Maguire into Collier and Bruno Fernandes. When the ball gets shifted to Martinez, there is plenty of space for him to carry the ball into wide of the Rangers front two. And Martinez, despite me being critical of some of his defensive errors and positioning earlier on in the season, seemingly has cut those out of his game recently. And as always, he's one of United's best ball progressors from these deeper areas, and he shows this here as he moves forward into the space, and now we can see the use of Amorim's narrow front three and Xerxes' role in particular. Here you have Garnacho and Eriksen in the half space, with Xerxes also joining them between the lines, dropping off from the centre backs. And you can see that with Garnacho sitting in the left-sided half space, in order to cut the passing lanes into him, the Rangers' right-sided central midfielder Barron has to shift across, stretching the space between the Rangers' midfield double pivot. Now Garnacho could drop in front of the midfield line, which would be an option if United wanted to work the ball into Bruno Fernandes, with two short passes bounced from Martinez into Garnacho and back into Bruno Fernandes. But with Garnacho sitting in behind the midfield line, this opens up the passing lane from Martinez into Xerxes' feet, and this is where we see the difference between Martinez on the left and Euro and Mazraoui on the right, as on the right side of the back three, United don't have the same incisive progressive passing that Martinez provides on the left. And we see this here as Martinez splits the Rangers midfield line with a disguised technique on his pass, finding Xerxes' feet. However, this is where I think Xerxes has to do better. But before I analyse why, a quick reminder, I do have an in-game Instagram group chat where we do have discussions and analysis throughout all the Manchester United games, as well as talking about some topics during the week. And also I am working on a tactical ebook which should be out towards the end of the month, and so if you are in the group chat you will get that for free, which will work out a bit cheaper than buying the ebook outright. So if you do want to sign up, I'll leave my Patreon linked in all the usual places in the eye above, description, comment section, and on the end screen after the video. So while Xerxes certainly is better when it comes to these first time layoffs compared with Højlund, because the rest of his game is so limited, he needs to be elite consistently in this regard, and right now I just feel like he's not consistent enough. See, when laying the ball off, if he touches it to Bruno Fernandes' right side, then this opens up the passing lane for Bruno to first time find Eriksen between the lines in the right-sided half space, from where he can then turn and feed the ball out to Ahmad, who can then drive at the left back in a 1v1, pushing him back into the final third and even the box. However, Xerxes' layoff is between Bruno Fernandes' feet, meaning that he has to take a touch, which allows the Rangers centre-back to apply pressure and one of the front two to drop off as they work in tandem to cut the pass from Bruno into Eriksen, forcing him backwards to Maguire. Now when Maguire receives the ball, United are back in front of the whole Rangers defensive shape, and so you can see the difference that Xerxes' pass not being perfectly laid off for Bruno Fernandes can have on the entire move, but Maguire does well from here, and what he does next is a clear feature of Amorim's possession strategy, and that is to not rush to circulate the ball, but instead to hold on to possession, shifting the ball and your position in order to wait for and actively create open passing lanes, and that's exactly what Maguire does, keeping the ball moving, and then eventually, when Bejrami shifts his position in to cut the passing lane into Collier, Maguire takes another touch to his right to open up the passing lane into Xerxes, wide of the Rangers front two, splitting the midfield double pivot, and this is Xerxes' cue to drop off and receive possession in this central space. However, once again, I think Xerxes has to do better, as I feel from these positions he often takes the easy option of going backwards far too often. Here, because both Eriksen and Garnacho in the front three have held high positions in the half space, the Rangers centre-backs are reluctant to drop off with Xerxes and vacate that space in the back line, seeing Xerxes become the free man. And so in this situation, unusually compared to other games, particularly in the Premier League, where we see centre-backs follow Xerxes deep, he doesn't have anyone on his back and should be allowing the ball to roll across his body, controlling it with his left foot, and then driving forward into the space at the centre-back pairing, wherefrom eventually one of the two centre-backs is going to be forced to leave Eriksen or Garnacho in order to engage Xerxes, which then opens up the opportunity for Xerxes to release one of them in behind the back line into a central goal-scoring position. And this is also why I say that United need pace in the front three, as whilst Garnacho is a massive threat when breaking in behind from these central positions, Eriksen just doesn't have the acceleration or the pace to be a serious threat when moving in behind, and this is why why over the last few months I've been talking about United signing either Nkunku on loan or Cunha permanently as options in one of those two interior forward positions, because in this type of situation their burst of acceleration would cause huge problems for the centre-backs, potentially allowing United to release one of them in behind into a high value goal scoring position in a 1v1. However, Xerxes doesn't take this opportunity and instead goes backwards to Bruno Fernandes, and now the opportunity to release either Eriksen or Garnacho in behind is gone. And this is why I find Xerxes so frustrating to watch, because he's clearly a better option than Højlund and plays an essential role in knitting the attack together. However, even though this was just two examples, if you focus on Xerxes throughout a full match, you can see that quite frequently he doesn't take advantage of opportunities like this as much as you'd probably want. And this is the difference between good players and elite level players, because in this false 9 role that Xerxes plays, I think Amorim's system would benefit significantly more from having a more complete player in this role, specifically a player who had the ability to turn and drive with pace, committing the backline before finding a through ball. And there is a player on the market either in January or in the summer for less than what we could probably get if we were to sell Xerxes in the summer, who I think could be unreal in this role. And so in a separate video, I'm going to break down who that player is, but also look at how United could build a front line around this player, having pace either side, that I think could give United a devastating attack. But this is something to look out for with Xerxes, as I think opposition centre-backs might actually start to do what we saw the two Rangers centre-backs do in this game, which is to hold their positions in the back line rather than following Xerxes higher up the pitch. Because if you actually think about it, Xerxes provides significantly more to United's attack through drawing the centre-backs high and creating space for the two interior forwards either side to burst into, than he does actually receiving the ball in space with no one on his back, because he just doesn't have that dynamic ball carrying ability to take advantage of it. And you can see he is accustomed to having a centre-back on his back, because he almost by default is instinctively laying the ball backwards to the midfield line a significant proportion of the time, even when the opportunity to turn is there. And so if you're the opposition side, it seems less risky to simply have your centre-backs hold their deeper positions, because even if Xerxes does turn and drive forward in these type of situations, because he doesn't have the acceleration to be able to turn and drive forward quickly, as long as your central midfielders are fairly athletic, you back them most of the time to be able to race back and get goal side. And even if they don't, Xerxes doesn't have the elite level playmaking ability to be able to have the vision and the technical ability to thread through balls and create chances in these type of situations. And so whilst I do rate Xerxes highly, I think the United fan base and even the board as well can become blind to how improving one individual player in a specific role can significantly improve the overall attack. Having a more complete player in this false 9 role, specifically a player who has a combination of Xerxes' ability to link play with first time layoffs alongside athletic ball carrying ability and a high level of playmaking in his game, could take Amorim's attack to the next level. And so this is why I would consider selling Xerxes in the summer if the price was right and the replacement was there for a similar or a lower price. Now I'll reveal who my first choice as well as an alternative option could be in a video that should be out later today, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications. But also let me know in the comment section who you'd like to see in that false 9 role if United were to sign someone. And if you do want to sign up for the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave my Patreon linked on the end screen now.